All right, so I am recording this after what was a very entertaining potential playoff series in the Western Conference between the Dallas Mavericks and the Houston Rockets. This, by no standard at all, was a pretty basketball game. Very ugly. Shooting on both sides was not efficient at all. None of those teams played like this flawless style of basketball. And I thought it was good to see because you want to see, especially with a young team like Houston, you want to see them be able to hang their hat on the defensive end, right? Or win the game based off of the marginal things, right? So obviously their late game execution was just better relative to Dallas. That's why they were able to win this one down the stretch. But there were some specific numbers to look at that were pretty impressive. The thing I was most impressed about was the rebounding. So far this season, Houston has been one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the entire league. There was a 9 rebound differential in that particular category. So again, I love when we're watching these younger teams that are primarily known for their like extensive amount of young scoring talent. So if we're talking about the Rockets, first things that come to mind, Jalen Green. You're also talking about Alperen Sengun, who's no more than just his scoring ability, also an amazing passer and things like that. You're thinking about Jabari Smith. You know them primarily from their large array of young, great scorers or offensive players. But to see them have this identity, and they're very similar to the Orlando Magic in this way, where they're a young team that has established this identity and they can win games doing the ugly things. This was an ugly, inefficient game against a very experienced Mavericks team. Like, look at that Mavericks core. Their best 3 guys have played in a collective of what? Clay's got 4 or 5 NBA Finals appearances, maybe more. Kyrie's got 4, maybe more, and Luka's got 1, right? So your young group won a game on the margins against a Mavericks team that's top 3 guys, has a ridiculous amount of NBA Finals and championship winning experience. You really love seeing stuff like this. Obviously, I do want to talk a little bit about Jalen Green. He did not have a great game the entire way through, even though Houston did a good job early on and got off to this amazing lead. And most of it was due to their ability to defend at a high level. So again, them setting the tone on the defensive end, doing the ugly things. Jalen Green's play down the stretch was pretty impressive. His shot making was amazing. There are like these back and forth sequences between him and Luka Doncic, which was super fun. That is like a potential playoff duel matchup that I'd be very interested to see sometime in the postseason. I've loved to see Green's progression offensively over the years, and he's always had that in him. But I think the thing about Jalen Green that you want to see is consistency, right? Consistency through 4 quarters and through an extensive period of time throughout the season. Jalen Green at this point in his career has been known to have these amazing spurts. So when can Jalen Green get to this point where he is consistently being an efficient scoring threat? Because his numbers are generally good. These aren't bad scoring numbers. But the thing that you're worried about is he's not putting up these amazing shooting splits, right? And if you're putting up like between 22 and 25 on inefficient splits and you're having issues with consistency, then it doesn't look all that impressive. So that is the thing right now for Jalen Green to keep an eye on is his consistency throughout 4 quarters of play and really throughout the entire stretch of the season. And that's not just with him. There are a lot of young offensive players that we've seen kind of have this issue before where they had these amazing spurts, but consistency for like a large period of the season is a bit of an issue. But I love like the sequences down the stretch. I think continue to give him time. He will be one of the elite scorers in the NBA. He was so good late in that 4th quarter. Again, not an amazing game from him at all, but down the stretch, went bucket for bucket, really both with Luka and Kyrie, helped keep them in this one. There was one where I thought Najee Marshall played amazing defense on him. And he still backs up in like the left corner and knocks down this ridiculous step back 3. Just one of my favorite young players to watch, extremely talented. He has this great blend of shot making ability from the perimeter and also this awesome ability to finish at the basket. He can finish over you, he can finish around you. His layup package is absolutely sick for like a wing. I think he's got the best layup package out of any wing right now in the NBA. Y'all can let me know if I'm wrong, but love what I saw down the stretch there from Jalen Green. Again, not super efficient at all, but to see him have that moment where he goes back and forth with a guy like Luka It was just ridiculous. Over to the Mavericks, again, not a very impressive game for them the entire way through. That Dallas Mavericks defense or that Houston Rockets defense generally did a great job on them. But Luka down the stretch, him, Kyrie, and also Klay Thompson had these amazing moments as a trio. Klay hit a couple of threes late in that fourth quarter. Kyrie did a good job of getting to the basket. And then Luka doing some Luka Doncic stuff while getting to that step back 3-point jumper. My only issue, and this is something that we've generally struggled with the Mavericks over the years, is the stagnation in the offense late in games. There were times where Luka, rightfully so, would get these like contested step back threes and he'll like continuously go to that shot. And sometimes they were in rhythm, but a lot of times they were out of rhythm, right? And sometimes those looks didn't look like smart looks. And maybe he could have slowed it down and let something develop a little bit on the offensive end. So saying that to say, Luka was shot chucking just a bit down the stretch, and that Mavericks offense got a little stagnant. Again, there were times where they weren't as stagnant, and they were getting some great stuff happening off the ball, especially to get Klay Thompson open for these 3-point looks. But your hope is that the stagnation just continues to limit itself throughout the season here for the Mavericks. And a lot of that is going to come down to Luka's decision making. Again, I can see why he takes such a large array of those contested step back jumpers because he can hit them. But there were times tonight where they were a bit out of rhythm, especially in that fourth quarter. They were disrupting the pace of the offense a bit, or just generally, he could have gotten a better shot, right? And there could have been some better decisions made. Maybe he could have let the offense develop just a bit. But that is something that we're always going to keep an eye on for the Mavericks is, yes, they'll have this amazing offensive rating throughout the entire 82-game season. The stats will be in their favor. But if you watch them play, how much in the fourth quarter, late in games, does that offense get stagnant around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? We're already seeing that having Klay Thompson here, using his ability as a movement shooter, somebody who can knock down shots off of pin downs or curl actions better than what they had last season. They're getting a lot more motion, a lot more off-ball movement. Utilize that to your full advantage late in fourth quarter situations. And again, they went to it a lot, and they would kind of shy away from it. Again, some of that was just simply because Luka was feeling it, and he kind of just go from there. Shot making and shot decision making down the stretch, I think, is going to be key for the Mavericks moving forward. But all in all, this could be a very fun potential Western Conference playoff matchup. Maybe it'll be a first round playoff matchup, but I'm definitely rooting for this Rockets team to get to that level. And I think they can, right? I mean, look at the Orlando Magic. I just made that comparison. A young group that was in a rebuilding position, and they finally found a young core that worked, and now they're a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference. Or go look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, built up their talent through the years. And they're a little bit of a different situation, right? They go out and get Shea Gilgeous-Alexander from the LA Clippers. So they went out and traded for a guy. And I kind of still count him as a guy that they sat and let develop because he wasn't SGA like we know him now when he got over there in the first place. But we're seeing that. We're seeing these younger teams develop these identities for themselves, and they're able to make some serious noise in the league and in their conference or division. Same thing could happen here for the Houston Rockets. Love what I saw tonight. Again, it was an ugly game, but to see them make that game look ugly against a Mavericks team that wants to keep things in their favor, right? From an offensive standpoint, wants to play like this super efficient, in rhythm, offensive style of basketball, especially through their three best shot makers and shot creators in Kyrie, Luka, and Klay Thompson. To see them slow that down on the road, very, very promising. Love to start here from the Rockets. Love what they have to offer. And we will see how things continue to progress for this team as things move on this season and as they continue to try to convince us that they are a legitimate threat finally in the stacked Western Conference.